Welcome everybody to The Rift. I am your host, Kyle Cowden Gloria, and Darcy is not able to join me this week. He is currently working and had to travel for work, so I actually have a special guest with us, and that is Adam Man, aka Movie Man. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, enjoying the competition so far in league. Things are starting to shape up some, coming back from IEM over the break and stuff, and things are starting to shape up, and we're getting closer to the end of spring split already.
Oh yeah, it's coming up before we know it.
That it is. Well, today we're gonna kind of do something a little bit different. We're gonna more so have a discussion about a couple teams in each that we enjoy, and we're going to kind of go from there. And we're going to, of course, go over and start out with EU. And what's a team you kind of want to discuss over there?
Well, first off, I just want to talk about Origin because 0-7.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
0-7, and
yeah.
Within that, I don't want to blame it all on Peke,
too,
but at the same time, they kind of look like a challenger team right now, to me.
Well, I made the statement that I completely agreed with Dar, or Crepo. Dar didn't really agree with me because he came out, Crepo in the week one came out and was talking about Origin Summon, talking about how that team is kind of filled with a bunch of B-class, players. It's a very B-class type team. It's a lot of guys on that team that are kind of second tier in that group. Challenger guys, guys that are trying to get their second chances, and I didn't like the roster at all. I thought they were going to fail pretty hard. I was already saying that they're going to be one of the bottom two teams, which we'll get into later. But overall, though, I didn't like the team, and it has shown that I have been absolutely correct on it. For, as you said, they haven't won a game. Recently, of course, they did make a swap just for this past week. Peke went into support, and they looked a little bit better. They looked a little bit better, just not much, but they had the veteran shot calling in there, of course. And just recently, they came out with the article about
Hiva.
They ended up letting them go, and how do you feel that is? Like, do you think they'll be able to find somebody to support for them, or do you think Peke is going to be stuck in that role for the rest of the split?
This late into the season, I don't think that they'll find someone to cover that. Mainly because I think Peke may just say, okay, we'll just finish out the spring split and try to bring in someone new, and trying to build chemistry with the rest of the team. Okay, we're 0-7 already, so maybe if Peke steps in, maybe they can at least maybe win one.
Yes, yeah.
Before,
which I mean, they do have a chance. Like I said, they did look better than before. But there are a bunch of teams right now, currently, that Rocat still hasn't had a win. Vitality only has one win, so there's a chance that they could possibly escape the relegation tournament at the end of the split. But it's going to be really hard, and maybe with the presence of Peke in the bot lane with the shot calling, maybe they can squeak out a win or two. Their coming up schedule actually somewhat favors them. They do have to play Giants, which has only one win. They do have to play Rocat, which will take care of that right there. And they do have to play Vitality still. So they do have a chance to somehow get out of that relegation tournament. I mean, it is going to be a tough road, but I stated before as well about their mid laner, Nehun. How about that guy right now? In the challenger over where he came from, I mentioned to Dar that he was winless. They didn't win a single game with him in mid lane. And here they are in EU with Nehun again, and he
haven't won a game.
Win. But, and what's sad though, is overall his play. I can't really blame him too much on this because he's actually been performing really well.
See, and my thing with that is, Origin not winning a game. Okay, so they got rid of Hiva, right? And the reasons for getting rid of Hiva were due to poor performances in recent weeks. Okay, I don't think you can pin that on just one guy on the team.
No, of course not.
That's like saying, okay, I'm going to go into a ranked game, and we lost because my poor performance.
Yeah, overall, it does become, especially in the pros, it does become.
Oh yeah.
An overall team-based game. Seth Torres had a lot of hype on him, and he hasn't. I mean, you can't really blame him either, because like the hype, he had a lot of hype on him. He was a well talked about top laner coming in, but there's just a team he's kind of stuck on. Really hurts. And overall, like I mean, Tabs, he's trying to redeem himself, bring back what he used to bring to the table. It's just like I said, it's just a team that's very B class, like Kreppel said, and it's really hurting them.
Oh yeah.
I do kind of want to go over, and I kind of want to discuss Unicorns of Love a little bit. They started out extremely strong. IEM though, they kind of faltered, and they kind of brought it into the following week. They didn't look as strong as they did, and I don't know if that's because of meta changes, certain nerfs to the top junglers. So they're not able to get the same picks that they were before because they're just not as strong. And I feel like their honeymoon phase at the beginning of the split is just kind of windowed down, and they're just kind of, starting to become, fall back down to earth on being this team. Don't get me wrong, I do think they're still going to be a very good team and really good, just not as dominant as they were.
I agree totally. I watched most of their games at the beginning of the season, and they looked phenomenal. Like after last split, I figured that they were going to come out strong, but I didn't know like that. And then watching IEM, and I'm going to go with more of the meta change is what's causing them their downfall right now. Mm-hmm. Just because they seem out of place when they're playing.
Yeah, well, and they were getting a lot of, sorry if I butchered his name, but, Zere? Is that how they were pronouncing it, I believe? But the jungler, the Kha'Zix nerfs, the Rengar, it's not a big nerf, but still, that takes out a lot. He can't completely immune CC anymore when he ults in and stuff. A lot of those top tier junglers got hit hard. I mean, enough that it's balanced out the game. And it's allowed for other champions to kind of move on up, and it's allowed the ADC role to somewhat have more of an impact on the game. You lost out on Maokai because those nerfs with the mana kind of does hurt him. He's still going to be a giant wall, and it's still going to be effective, but I think Nautilus turns into the main tank now. Poppy kind of there, but it's kind of become a very bruiser type top lane now. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they can adjust somehow, or if they're going to end up just kind of being mellowed out, and they're going to still win here and there against the bad teams, but they are going to struggle against the stronger ones, as we just seen.
Yeah, like G2 or the team that I want to talk about.
Which we can go right into them.
Misfits.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Misfits, Kyle?
Well, man, I was really salty on that team for getting rid of Selfie, which we all know, Dar and I have said multiple times, but man, that team is fun to watch. They are extremely good, and they could basically play anything, any style.
Oh yeah.
Their macro game is on point. They're if it's a team that wants to just all out fight them because they think that might be the weakness, because there's games that they don't get a kill for 26 minutes, which is insane, and really slow pace. And they want to fight. They'll come back and fight at you. Like they're not scared. They're overall they're just so well balanced right now, and it's insane. And I think a really plus thing too is they're always on point with objectives. if a team makes a call for an objective, say the top tower, say a Drake, they're always in a situation that they can rotate and take an objective for an objective. They're always on top of whatever they other team does. They will they will counter it. Exactly. They will counter it. And it's just so fun to watch them play. And their Baron calls and Baron plays is amazing. Their warding and vision control is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, watching them at the beginning of the split, and I know that you're mad because, they got rid of Selfie, but, you're a Selfie fanboy. So, but, I mean, watching them, they got, Power Evil, big name for mid lane.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out strong. Personally, I like watching the most right now, and I may say his name wrong. Ignar?
Oh, yeah.
Ignar?
Oh, Ignore.
Playing support. Me being a support main, I love just watching supports play.
Mm-hmm.
And just watching him play, it's just, where he sets up and everything, warding, all that.
He can easily be one or the best support right now in AU.
I agree.
The plays that he's been pulling off is insane. That whole team, even Kakao has the Misfits to me. Obviously, I was still really hyped on Ignar and Hansama. I love that bot lane. Power Evil, I had big question marks around. Afari, I was curious. I knew he was good coming in, but I was wondering how he would do in the big stage, and he has performed really well. Kakao and Power of Evil, though, has been about redemption stories. Yes. Over in Origin, Power of Evil was absolutely terrible. It did not work out at all. Just bad. Bad, bad, bad. Kakao, he was known as arguably the best jungler over there in Korea, and then he took a massive hit and was not talked about at all. And here he is performing at a extremely high level again. And I think with those two, with their redemption story and the consistent play out of the rest of them, there's no weak point in this team. And to me, arguably, I don't know if you would agree with this, could be the best team in all of Europe right now over G2. It's close, but you can argue they could put up that fight.
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, they, coming at G2, which I actually think they play this week. But we'll get to that later. I think that they can just dominate G2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just watching Misfits play, and the way that they move around the map, I don't know if G2 can. G2 being number one right now, sitting there on their cloud, they may go, they may kind of slack off since they've had a break, but we'll see. I mean, they don't play till the 17th. That's when they play each other, March 17th.
And that's going to be an extremely decisive game, because that pretty much tells you who possibly is going to finish the top for their Group A, and it's going to be a game that we're all looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, though, like I said, right now, Misfits, unbelievable play. I mean, you being a support, you love seeing things about vision and stuff, and the fact that they always have the team blind when it comes to Baron plays and controlling jungles, it's absolutely insane. It makes it really hard for the other teams. So far this split, they've had one mishap at Baron. Anytime they've made a Baron call, they've succeeded, except for one time. That just happened this week, sadly. But just such a clean team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like you're saying about warding and stuff, watching they have full control of the map. No matter who they're playing, they always have full vision control of the map. So, top side, they'll get, okay, we're going to go Baron. Okay, we get their whole top side jungle warded.
Mm-hmm.
It's immaculate.
Oh, extremely. It's extremely fun to watch. And I'll go ahead and I'll bring up my other team I somewhat want to discuss here, but I do kind of want to talk a little bit about Splice. Very average, man. I was really hoping them coming back.
Strong.
They would come back strong. Exactly. Yeah. And they just, I mean, their record is 5-3. Yes, they are third in Group B. H2K and Unicorns are above them, tied for first place, which you can't, that's very hard to compete against those two teams right now. But they're only a game behind. Do you think they have enough to grasp one of those next spots? Do you believe they have enough to grasp one of those next spots, the top two?
Looking at the schedules,
Mm-hmm.
they have, not this week, but next weekend. I mean, they play Origin.
Mm-hmm.
That game, I think they should win that game. But, I mean, going against, like Vitality and Origin, I think they have those wrapped up.
Yes.
Coming against Unicorns or H2K, no.
Yeah,
they in my mind, they're not the same team they were last year.
Just too inconsistent. A lot of the games are just too close for what they should be.
What it looks like to me is the chemistry that they formed last year, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like over break between, summer split, spring split. It all disappeared. And I actually talk about that in an NA team too when we get to it. But
yeah, I mean, overall, Kabe has performed fairly consistent. He's still doing well, but the rest of the team has been very. I mean, yeah, Trashy hasn't been the same. Other than. Go ahead.
Do you think it's the jungle changes for Trashy? The meta change in the jungle?
I don't know what it is, because it's just that team just should overall play a lot better, and they just don't. I don't know if it's because of the early dominance of H2K and Unicorns that just really hurt them at the beginning, that they took those hard losses, so they were instantly behind. Now they're trying to play catch up and everything else. Maybe the meta changes will somewhat help them out. Especially because I do like that team. That team is fun to watch, and they were fun last year. They were a very fun Cinderella story. They did, of course, win last week against Giants, which they should. They're winning the games that they need to win, but they need to pull out something to be able to take out H2K and Unicorns. H2K, I don't think they can take out. Unicorns, though, as I was discussing earlier, they've kind of mellowed out a lot that I'm really interested to see when that next matchup happens.
In my mind, it's what Unicorn's team shows up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, it is. And it depends on what Spice team shows up, but as we've seen before, they haven't played well against the top tier teams. Before we switch over somewhat to NA, looking over at the team standings, who do you think your top 3 teams are right now? Like your 3 strongest teams? In order, not in groups, but just at overall power rankings.
I put Misfits first, G2, and then I'd probably go. I'd have to say H2K, just because I mean H2K looks strong, and we'll know more as the next 3 weeks progress, and then. Once we get into playoffs, because every team changes once they hit playoffs.
Yes,
it comes out as a whole different team.
Exactly. I somewhat agree. I'm going to put G2 in first, and Misfits in second, just for the fact that they have. I want to see that second matchup happen. Obviously, G2 did beat them the first time they played, but Misfits wasn't as strong as they look now. I think they could take that. But for the time being, just because they do have the victory over them, I will put Misfits second instead, and I do agree H2K is first. I was arguing a couple of weeks ago that Unicorns was the best team, but like I said, they've mellowed out a ton. And now for the scary bottom two. Who do you feel by the end of the split, I should say, that will end up being at that bottom two currently?
Definitely Origin.
Mm-hmm.
I think they may win one game, and it'd be against the next team. And really, it's a toss-up between two teams, Vitality or Rocat.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really pin one because I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched really Vitality play much or Rocat.
Which, no, there's no blame on that. I mean, there's a couple games that ends up happening in EU that you're just like, oh, it's Rocat, oh, it's Team Vitality. They're giants. Like, there's teams over there that it's not fun to watch because you know what's going to happen right now. And that's how split up this is right now. But, I agree. I'm going to go with Origin and Rocat. It's a scary situation for either one of those teams, too, because to me, EU, one of those two teams are definitely getting relegated. Schalke is coming up. They're an LCS team. They're LCS ready. One of those teams are going to end up losing to them, and Schalke is going to be up. So for these next couple weeks, it's going to be absolutely huge for Origin and Rocat to try to get one of these wins, especially since they're only one game behind Vitality and Giants. But it's a scary situation for those bottom four teams right now, and they really need to clean stuff up and clean them up fast because, again, which one of those teams are going to be unlucky and end up getting relegated from Schalke?
We'll find out. We'll find out Thursday.
Exactly. All right. We're going over to the NA. We'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and ask you again first. Which it may be what I'm thinking, but what team would you like to somewhat discuss first?
Well, we'll go with Darcy's team.
Oh, all right.
Team Liquid.
Yes, there's a lot of changes going on.
Yes.
So.
The big move. Your thoughts on the Piglet mid move?
With the way it went last week, I like Piglet mid. He can carry it, man. That team still has a lot to do. There's going to be a lot of figuring out to do still, though, synergy-wise, with Piglet being in mid now. You could somewhat play around Piglet, though, with the way the metas are and stuff. Like I said, ADC is somewhat making of a slight jump. Nothing big, but, they're becoming a little bit better. But you could really play around that mid lane. And having Piglet play mid right now, and the performance he had on Cass, the first match especially, really showed that he does know that mid lane somewhat. And it's interesting to see, though, on how many mid laners he could actually pull out, though. Because if you start banning out picking casts and certain champs from him, how deep is his pool and how much has he practiced and tried out these other mid lane champs that will keep him actually performing well enough for them to hopefully get a couple wins?
I totally agree. One thing, and this is my personal opinion, I think Piglet is playing better in mid lane than he has since coming over to NA. Than he pretty much has as ADC.
Oh, for big time. To me, I know there's been a lot of blame on Golden Glue, especially from me. I'm not a fan of Golden Glue.
Flex.
As we all know. As we all know. And, and Piglet was just as much as a fault to blame. Put
right.
Just as much blame on Piglet as there was Golden Glue. Piglet was getting himself caught out in situations that you're like,
all the time.
No champion caliber player should be doing this right now. Like Piglet, you know better. And I think the pressure was really hitting on him to, try to bring that back. And with ADC being the way it was just really hurting him. And I think this really allows him to redeem himself somewhat and be like, no, listen, I'm on this team. They obviously need me in the lineup somehow because this is what I still can bring to the table. And Youngbin, like Youngbin, yeah. I mean, how overall, what you have seen, do you like that, or do you think they still should look?
I personally think they should still look. I'm not really familiar with Youngbin and all his background and everything, but just and I don't know if it's just, the big thing, ADC support chemistry. They don't seem to, from the games I, watched last week, they weren't seeming to mesh as well.
Well, I mean, first weekend, so that's
I know. I know. So, I mean, to make my decision for sure, I'm going to have to, see, a couple more weeks. And then I'll...
Game 1 against, was it, who'd they lose? End up being Team Liquid, correct? Because they did, or Immortals.
Team Liquid.
Immortals. They ended up beating Immortals.
Yes.
Which is good for them because it gives them another win. It gives them a little bit more confidence. And right now, actually, my computer's not letting me pull up the stats because I was going to look at the end game stats for Young Ben. But overall, though, the first week, I think he played fairly well. First day. Do you have these stats by any chance?
Working on it right now.
But overall, though, I think the move is going to end up working out for him. I think they, especially with Piglet being able to still be in a carry row and to be as dominant as he was, I think is really nice. Game 1, I believe he got destroyed. Obviously, it could be in-game jitters, but I believe he was like 0-5 in the first game.
Got scattered.
And then the second game, he ended up doing a lot better. He ended up, I believe, it was, let's see, it was 3-2-9 on Jhin, which for an ADC, the way it's been going, is alright. I think consistency is just a matter of meshing with Matt. It's just a matter of build up.
Yeah, and I mean that takes time. I mean, you can't just throw a new ADC in there and be like, well, we've practiced for a week together, so.
Exactly. I mean, do you think overall in the long run this is going to work out for them to at least we have 4 weeks left?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this move gives them enough to try to get out of one of those bottom 2 spots?
Yes, I believe so. And just from looking at their schedule, what they have coming up, I think that this move will help them. They're hard, they got a couple hard games left. I mean, they play TSM, they play P1 and FlyQuest.
Ooh.
So, yeah. I mean, their last, couple weeks, and they play Cloud9 this weekend. So, I mean, within that, I think they'll at least get out of the bottom spots, which when we get to that, I can, we'll go over who the bottom spots are for me. But I believe that they can at least make it up higher.
Yeah, I think if they make it up higher, though, I think it's only going to be 1 spot higher. I
was going 2.
I still don't think that they are going to be able to redeem enough to surpass the teams above them. I think it's just too late in the season, but we'll definitely have to just see. I mean, that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Speaking of team that I expected to succeed a lot more, Team Dig.
Yep.
4-8.
Yep.
What is going on? Like, they looked better last week. Or before break. It's like, oh, Cop comes in, becomes a coach. Look at them play. They played a lot better. Maybe something's gonna happen. Is it just a gel thing? Can they just not play together? Like, is that the issue, or is it just their late games calling is just killing them?
I personally think that they are taking too long. So they're late, like when they get into late game, their shot calling just falls off. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, they just start running around the map aimlessly, like, okay, well, we're gonna go do this,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I.
It is. No, if that's the way it feels with that team, because you look at that roster and it's just, what? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Someday, Chaser.
What is going on? Like, you guys should be, especially when you look at teams like Immortals, you look at teams, I mean, obviously they're above Envy and Liquid right now, but the way they perform,
Not very
Echo
much.
Fox, CLG, the way they're performing, like, this team does not feel like they should be here right now. They feel
No.
like, when you look at the roster, they feel like they should be at least
Top
5.
3, yeah, top 5.
I say at least 5 right now.
Oh yeah.
At least 5. But they're not. They can't finish games out, and it just, like as you said, it takes way too long. And some stat wise has kind of dropped off a
Yes.
lot.
So is Chasers.
Yeah, it's just looking at. We'll look over at. I mean, I like Lod, but he's not doing what I was hopefully praising him to do, which Dar can laugh as he listens to this later, because he'll be like, haha, I told you so. Um, jungle wise, we have Chaser's kind of, where is he at? Chaser right now is, Smithy is only worse than him in KDA right now. Like, he is bottom tier jungler right now.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're expecting from a guy like Tracer that you brought in, definitely wanting more from. Keen, I love Keen. I'm a big fan of Keen, but mid lane wise, he's performing mid in the pack right now, KDA wise and stuff. Kill participation is 64%, so it's not terrible. He's performing well enough that you would think that someday and stuff would be able to help him out, and help carry, I should say.
Right.
And where someday is right there in the middle of the pack too. When you got a bunch of people that are just sitting in the mid to bottom, things are not going to go well.
No. And, one thing I was thinking about was, language barrier, because, we had that at first when Piglet came over.
Yeah, but, when you look at it, though, King can speak Korean, Chaser can, and Someday can. But then, and King can obviously speak English as well, so he can communicate. But maybe, as Dar pointed out before, weeks ago, that maybe it's just him trying to relay situations over to the other guys.
Yeah, either way. Going from English to Korean to...
Yeah, trying to communicate between both of them could be really affecting this team. And the language thing could be, as you said, a situation that is really hurting them right now until they can figure out how to balance it out. Because if Keen is sitting there trying to talk about making a play, or Someday or Chaser's talking about what they see, and then he's trying to relay it over in English to the other guys at the same time, you're going to get cross-talking, and then it's too late. The fight's already breaking out, and things are happening. Like, things could just be happening so quick by the time that everything's transferred over that
it's over.
It's over.
It's done.
It's that fast, especially in league fights. You get caught out in a team fight, bam, you're gone. You can be deleted that quickly.
Yeah. Even going in, okay, the other team's on Baron. We're going to go. Well, we're all here, but by the time I figure out what the call is, I'm dead. Everyone's dead. We just got ace. What just happened?
Exactly. And again, it's a team that, to me, it can play a lot better, should play a lot better. I think as long as they stick together during the off season, I feel it's a team that could get better, but just it's going to take till summer split for us to really see if they figured out the way to shot call and the language situation.
Yeah.
Go ahead and we'll continue. And are you going to talk about who I think you are?
Probably not. But speaking of which, and I know you're talking about CLG.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to bring up a point because earlier I made a point about the chemistry of the team
Mm-hmm.
and what they had at the end of the summer split, coming into the spring split. Like, what happened?
Yeah, which
I mean, it's normal CLG. Beginning of the year, they always are terrible, and then they come out strong at the end.
yeah, I just think it's a lot of guys that's just underperforming. I mean,
Yeah.
Afro to me is not
No.
performing at the caliber that we all know he can. Darshan, we've talked about multiple times
Oh,
about
boy.
how they need to get rid of him. This coming split, they need to just say bye. Xvithe has gone back to what we have all said before. Find a new jungler. And he
Yeah.
was holding his own for the longest time. And he was the only one holding his own for a long time. And he's just come crashing down. I mean,
He's had good games,
he's
but
had good games, but overall it's been up and down. Stixxay, I think, still pretty consistent. I do like Stixxay a lot, but overall, though, this team just has been very, as we've said multiple times on this show. But
yeah, the team I actually want to talk about
Go
though
ahead.
was Echo Fox.
okay,
Your thoughts?
I don't know. What I mean is they're the trying to think of how to. They're the tip of this season. When tip was that games that they destroyed, they looked at fantastic, and then they looked just as bad, like as bad as the worst team in the league at the same time. They're a team that's just way too inconsistent, but enough that can keep them obviously up above bottom tier teams. And they went out and beat TSM, and then they lose to a bad team too. You know what I mean? Like they're just a team that's a lot of potential out there. I still think Keith is the weakest point in that, the weakest link in that team. I think if they get a new ADC, this team could really step it up. But overall, though, they just have massive consistency problems. And as a team, week in and week out, if you're putting money on League of Legends and you're trying to look at games to bet on, this is a team you stay 100% away from. Because one week they will win and hype you up to put money on them again, and then they will get destroyed the following. So that's what they are. It's a team that you stay away from, because it's a scary team too, though, for the top teams like TSM. Obviously, they weren't expecting to lose that, and what happened? They lose. But then you look at the team again that they should beat, and they don't. So they can be an extremely scary team if you don't prepare for them like you should. If you overlook that team, you will lose. But if you don't, you should beat them.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. It's one of those cases of which Echo Fox team is going to show up today. And I was really psyched for Echo Fox to come out this year. Looper, the main reason. Like, I just don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
I see it and I'm like, how does this? Why? But it could be meta. Maybe he doesn't like playing all the tanks like Maokai like every game. And
I mean, he's the one that pulls out the Singe Bigs.
I know.
So
yeah.
you just never know what you're gonna get from him.
Yeah, what team you're gonna get? Just like this past weekend, Gate pulled out Camille support, and I wasn't at that time. I wasn't watching that game, but one of our buddies, he sent me a text message saying that Camille support, me being a Camille support player,
that you are,
said, "Don't ever play it again."
And but the first time he did pull it out, granted, I think it was more of a surprise factor, and it was before the nurse hit. he destroyed on her. They absolutely destroyed on her, and I don't know if it's the nurse that was hit, but they've mellowed her out enough, though. I think that teams can deal with it if need be.
She's definitely dealable now. I mean, but just the way that he was jumping in, it looked like he wasn't communicating with anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, like they did beat Liquid, obviously, last week. So they're still beating the teams under them, which they need to stay alive, stay in playoff hopes. That's what you have to do. They also lost to Cloud9, which we all know should happen. I mean,
yes,
they are the best team,
but
one of the best. So
I do want to point out the strongest, in my personal opinion, the strongest link on that team right now, Acadian.
Oh, hands down.
Just to do some numbers here, he has a 3.1 KDA.
Mm-hmm.
Contracts and Moon are above him, and I mean,
2 rookie junglers are is the top. Towards the top. Like that.
Yeah.
That tells you it's awesome seeing that.
And he has 64% kill participation. I mean, when he plays Kha'Zix, I see him jump in, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Stop. Okay, never mind. Go ahead. He's just, I've never seen Acadian play until this year when he started with Echo Fox, so I had no idea what was coming. And just watching him play, I was like, wow, he's real. He's a real go-getter.
Yeah, I mean, right now, he currently, as you were talking stats, has the most kills out of jungle. And he almost, he's about 4 or 5 kills, I believe it was, away from having 20 more than Moon. That's a lot.
Well, let's see. Moon's at 127, and Acadian's at 142.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so 5 away.
5 away from having 20 above the next guy. Like you said, his kill participation is at a 64%, which out of junglers, he is the second lowest, but still, that's good for junglers. That's kind of a number that's kind of for, questionable to look at with jungling, because you're always going to be a part of a lot of kills, being ganking lanes and everything else. CS per minute, I mean, he's third right now with 5.3. He's up there with total CS, which he's so good at farming and keeping his farm up that it's allowing him to build quicker than other junglers.
He's actually 4th in CS per minute.
Okay. But he's still up there,
Oh, yeah.
Very
top
well.
4.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, Froggen's performing a lot better, too, on that team.
Yeah. Yeah, seeing him this year is a lot better than watching him last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was painful.
That it is.
And I really think that it has a lot to do with the team that he has around him, too.
It does. And like I said, to me, the weakest link, personally, is still Gate. He gets still called out way too much.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember what Mark said from Team Liquid, but he had the funniest quote. It was something about he called him Keith. I get called out before a team fight McBrief. That's what he called him, and it's so true. And that I think is what keeps Echo Fox from being a top 5 team to bottom 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of moving on. I've been kind of up on the air on a team I kind of want to discuss, because I do kind of want to talk about TSM, C9, but we do know those are the top 2 teams. It's going to be really nice to see that last
showdown.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be really entertaining to see, because TSM has really stepped it up. Cloud9 faltered against that one game against them and ended up losing, but I think that they've kind of picked themselves back up again, so that's going to be really interesting. I'll go, I kind of want to talk about FlyQuest. Still performing really well. They are number 3, tied with Phoenix 1 right now. But they've kind of took some steps back. Teams kind of started figuring him out a little bit more, but they're still playing at a high enough level to keep himself in top 4. And a lot of that to me still has to do with Moon's play. Moon is still playing, arguably one of the best junglers right now in NA.
He technically is the best jungler in NA right now.
He's all over the map. He gets his kills. With high shot calling, man, things still work out really well with that team. Balls to me has been kind of ballsy again,
Yeah.
But it's so hard to say with the team because when you see them perform at such a high level, they look so good. But when you watched them play against Cloud9, it was like, man, what happened? Because they ended up getting overall in the season, they're 0-2 now against Cloud9, so they're not, there's no tiebreaker there. But there, you can see that big gap now from 1 and 2 to 3 and 4, and I'm curious on how they will do against P1 again.
Go ahead.
Do you think that they still perform at a high enough caliber to keep them where they're at, or do you think that them and P1 are going to be, do you think that they're still above them, or do you think they kind of have been playing as of late as they should be lower?
As they've been playing lately, the past, week, last week, just taking last week for lower. I think the matchup between FlyQuest and P1, they will lose. And I'll focus it around, High's a great shot caller. There's times that he makes calls that I look at it and go, what in the world was that?
Yeah, which he's always been known for stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that it was them. They made the Baron call, and then got aced at Baron. Was that them? Was that right?
Yeah, they had a yeah.
Okay. I was like, is that the right game? I watched a lot of games this weekend. So.
Yeah, yep. They did make a call that cost them that because I think it was kind of a desperate, like, this is our last opportunity. And I can't remember which matchup it was, but the other team did say, hey.
C9. That was the C9
Yeah, it was the C9 game. Yep, because C9 came in there and said, no, guys, we're taking this back over. I don't think so.
And I think, like, those calls is what would hold them back against P1.
All right. And, like, do you agree then when it comes to a clear 1, 2, 3, and 4? Like, is there that big bridge gap? Or
yes.
am I over exaggerating it?
No, I think there's a huge gap between first and second, and then, your third and fourth, which your third, fourth, and third and fourth, and then you can almost include fifth, depending on which CLG team shows up that day.
I still think there's a gap between that.
Well, I mean, 3 and 4. I mean, there is, they're pretty much even, and that all bases on which team shows up and who is going to, outcall and outmove around the map.
Yeah. Other than Moon, do you think who do you feel has been? Do you say it's High's performance, or do you think that it's somebody else's or a collective overall group thing that has helped this team become the team that they are and perform in the way they are, and for them to sit where they are in the standings?
I mean, Altec has been great this season. I mean, just watching him play has been fun. And he is actually second right now on the rankings for ADC, right under Arrow. Arrow has 6 kills more than him.
Yeah, it just fantastic play from Altec. I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, and Altec didn't look so hot, in previous seasons, and I think it was mainly because around the team that was surrounding him. But putting him with this group, coming from C9 Challenger, blah 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 blah, elimination's a great support to have. And, Moon and Alltech is what I think is keeping this team up that high.
Yeah, the consistent play from those two, I think, is really helping. And it does help that, High is playing really consistent as well. But with having, when you're High and you have the best jungler in NA right now, and you have, ADC that you can consistently rely on, that helps so much. It takes so much off of you. And it allows High to shot call and game plan the way he needs to. It allows Lemonation to pull out his notebook and do
secret notebook
and help with team comps on what they should pull out, because they know their strengths and they know their weaknesses, and they're really good at playing around their strengths, and they're really good at pulling out stuff that some people at times don't expect. That will
like
counter.
Blitzcrank.
Yeah, that would counter the other person, and it's just completely out of left field, and it really helps dominate teams that they do.
Like who plays Blitzcrank in pro? I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, where we're at right now, he's like the highest rated support, but that's because we all hate Blitzcrank. But
we're garbage.
All right, kind of talking standings now. 1, 2, and 3. Do you feel that's what it is, or do you want to switch some stuff up there?
I think 1 and 2 will definitely, the TSM Cloud9 matchup is going to be a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just, without, seeing that game, of course, it's going to be hard. But, I mean, schedule-wise, Cloud9 plays Liquid. Okay, Cloud9 should definitely win that game. TSM plays Envy this week. TSM should murder that game.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud9 and CLG. Well, we all know who's going to win that. And then TSM Immortal. So basically, up until they play, I think that TSM and Cloud9, unless some strange thing happens, I think they'll stay tied until that matchup.
Yep, that's going to be the deciding factor. That game is going to be that's going to be it. Like that's saying 1 and 2, because I think it's a really strong possibility that both those teams go undefeated the rest of the way, other than
that game.
That game.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Now, as far as 3, I could see Phoenix 1 taking out FlyQuest. And I base it solely on the bad calls that High makes sometimes. And like if they get behind,
mm-hmm.
and, Phoenix 1, they're not really a team to, you shouldn't probably make a bad call if you're playing against Phoenix 1, because they'll take advantage of it and come up and surprise you.
Exactly. And to go back really quick about Cloud9 TSM, what I'm kind of talking about for the next matchup is playoffs, because that's going to be the two. That's going to be the two that are up there fighting for the championship. So that game's going to decide it all, obviously. But I right now, I think TSM is. It's so hard to say. I think they kind of performing a little bit better, but then Cloud9 has really stepped up their game again. So 1 and 2 is really hard to say. I'll keep it what it is right now, just because they're both 1 and 1. So
they're both number 1.
Exactly. So that's definitely a coin flip, man. I'm still gonna put FlyQuest above Phoenix 1 just for the time being. I'm going to give that probably another week before I decide maybe another, just kind of performance-wise, see how this week plays out, see overall how each team competes against their opponents to really see who looks more dominant and consistent. If you want to go down to the bottom, who do you feel like the bottom 2 right now are currently?
Envy, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
and I'd probably put Dig in there.
Oh, okay.
Just because the way Dig's been playing. I mean, some weeks he'll come out strong, and then that same week, the next game, they play terrible.
Yes. Yeah. No. They.
And I wanted to put Liquid down there, but watching Liquid last week, I think that they can move up to at least 7th.
Week 8 is going to be huge for that. March 17th is going to be massive for that game.
Yep.
They do play each other. That can be the deciding factor on, as you said, who finished bottom and who finishes, at least in the top 8 to not get in not be put in that relegation tournament. Although I will say, currently, if any team does get completely relegated, I don't think it's any team in NA. I think they all end up staying. I don't think there's any challenger team right now that can compete even against the worst that we have in the current LCS. And the only team that scares me the most is over in Europe, and that's Schalke. And to me, that team is making it, and that's the only definite in my book right now. I think everybody else is safe, though, especially in NA. I think you're safe. But I am going to keep. I think I'm going to put NV bottom though, and I'm going to put Liquid above them. I think they are better than NV, but I think with the changes and stuff, it's kind of too late. It's going to be really interesting to see how, with a week under their belt, with the changes on how they end up coming out next week. Because who knows? Maybe this was the move they needed. Maybe they're going to come out and just absolutely start destroying everybody, which would be extremely interesting to see.
And make Dar very, very happy.
Oh, it would be. It would make him extremely happy. Well, we're kind of getting to our closing for the show. I do kind of want to briefly go over each day, each game, what you are looking forward to. Obviously, I am going to start with EU. Day 1, we're going to go with the Thursday matchup. It is hot garbage.
It is straight garbage. Literally bottom feeders.
This is a huge, huge week, though. So it is something that we should really watch, especially if you're a fan of one of these teams in Europe. This is the week to watch these two games, because depending on who loses that Giants and Vitality game, that gives one of those teams only 2 wins. And Roccat or Origin is going to get their first win. So it's a massive, massive week, day for those 4 teams. But out of those 2, which one are you looking forward to?
I'd probably say the Giants Vitality game, just because I'd like to see them both actually perform better.
Mm-hmm.
And the Roccat Origin game, it's kind of like the worst of the worst going at each other to get that 1 win for the season. And to me, it would be kind of boring. Because you're like, okay, well, I know one of these teams is going to stay at 0 wins, and the other one's going to get 1.
Yeah.
And I think watching, Giants Vitality, I think it'll come out as a more, full on, here we go, we want to win. Let's turn this, let's turn it around.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think takes it?
In Giants Vitality?
Yep.
I go Giants.
How many games do you think it goes, all 3?
Yeah, all 3.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go with the Origin and Roccat game. That's the game I want to see, just because this game is going to give the 1-up to the other team and give them a chance to overcome Vitality or Giants. So I'm looking forward to see who gets that upper hand on the other team. They're both still really bad. I think they both will end up being in relegation at the end still. But it is going to be interesting to see which one of these teams end up overstepping the other one to get them closer to that next spot. Over in NA, day 1, which team are you looking forward matchup are you looking forward to?
FlyQuest Phoenix 1.
right. Why and who do you think takes it?
Well, I think it's going to be a great matchup. One, because they're both fighting for that third spot. Phoenix wants to get into that's third spot, right? Yeah.
Yes, that is 3 and 4.
Yeah. So, Phoenix 1 is wanting to move up to be in the top 3, and FlyQuest is like, well, we want to stay here in the top 3. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup to watch. And I just like watching FlyQuest, or C9, just because I like, watching all the veterans play is awesome. And I'm really kind of excited to see that bot lane matchup, the Alltech Arrow matchup. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
That matchup is going to be excellent, and I completely agree with you. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be obviously the game that determines who is going to be the Declare 3 and the Declare 4, unless some mishap happens in the next couple weeks. But I do agree on that. Who were you taking?
I'm still going to go Phoenix 1. 3 games.
I am going to differ from you, just to add a little bit of difference. And because I am a FlyQuest fan somewhat, because they are the old Cloud9, I am going to say 3 games though, and I do think FlyQuest will end up coming on top on that one. Over in EU, going to Friday, 2 matches that seem like they're going to be pretty entertaining. And who do you? Which matchup are you looking forward to?
Fnatic Unicorns.
Okay.
I just, G2 Splice, we pretty much know who would come out on top in that. I mean, we don't know for sure, but
it seems a little bit more one-sided.
Yeah. And then, the Fnatic Unicorns game, Fnatic's in third, and Unicorns is tied for first. Fnatic is, 2 wins down from Unicorns right now.
Mm-hmm.
But Unicorns has more to lose than Fnatic.
Yeah.
So I think Unicorns is going to... And the real reason I'm really interested in this is because I want to see what Unicorns team comes out.
Yeah.
I want to see, how they're going to play because, there's, we still have 4 weeks left, okay? They're still preparing for playoffs, getting that mindset ready to go into playoffs. So Unicorns going, if we lose this, we drop to 6-3. And if Splice was somehow to miraculously pull off a win against G2, that would put them tied.
Exactly.
For second.
Mm-hmm. And the way that Unicorns has been performing as of late and has seemed to somewhat fallen off some, it'll be really interesting to see how Fnatic can fare against them.
Uh-huh.
Who's taking it?
I'm going to go Unicorns. 3 games.
3 games?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I think they'll still find a way to pull it out at the end. And I think that team still... Even though they've mellowed out some, I think that team is still pretty strong, but I just don't think they're as strong. But I still think they're stronger than the teams underneath them, and that Fnatic being one of them. Back over to NA, we're going to go to the Saturday. Which out of those 4 matchups do you want to see?
Well, of course, CLG Dig.
Well, who's taking it? Why? Do you think it's going to be very one-sided, or...
I think it's going to be a very close game, actually. And it all depends on both sides which team decides to show up that day.
Yes.
And I'm going to go Dig. 3 games.
Ooh, so you're going to give Dig another win.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go Dig 3 games based off of how CLG's been performing.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Because, week by week it differs, but if they play, the same, and it's, CLG's doing the exact same that, who was it though? Echo Fox. Is that who I was talking about? where it was taking too long to finish games?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's taking CLG too long to finish their actual games. So
Oh, actually, it was Dig.
Dig. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So the 3 matches that are probably going to be played on Saturday is going to be really long and drug out.
Long. Expect that 40-minute game, boys.
Oh yeah. But I think Dig will take it.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Phoenix One and Echo Fox matchup because if Phoenix One does lose against FlyQuest, it's going to be interesting to see what Echo Fox can do. If the good Echo Fox comes out, I want to know how much that's going to hurt Phoenix, and I'm curious if Echo Fox can somehow miraculously end up taking over, jumping up. Especially if Dig wins, it's going to be interesting to see Echo Fox to see if they can actually jump up a couple spots by the end of the split. But I still am going to go Phoenix, so I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think it is going to go 3 games. Going over to EU on the Saturday game, I'm just going to say it right now. I am, and you as well, are probably looking forward to the Misfits and
H2K.
Yep, I think it's going to be a very competitive game, but right now, to me, Misfits is the best, arguably, in EU, and I am still going to go Misfits on this one, but I do think it's going to go all 3 games.
I agree. Misfits, 3 games.
And they're just playing way too clean right now. It's so scary. It's so scary right now, just how that is turning out right now. And then over with the Sunday matchups, man, that's very up in the air, but I am going to go with the Echo Fox and Dig matchup because, again, if Echo Fox somehow beats Phoenix One, that matchup is going to become even bigger for Echo Fox. And I think Echo Fox can beat that Dig team currently. And I do think it goes all 3 games. I think Echo Fox goes 2. The chance of them going 2-0 would be very interesting for their story and to try to finish top 4. But I do think Echo Fox will take Dig matchup though. But again, it's a team that's very, very inconsistent and goes all 3 games.
I'm kind of excited for Liquid Envy, actually. Just because, they're both tied for last place. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, both tied for last place, and, Team Liquid has, they play Cloud9 Friday. Envy plays TSM Saturday. They come head-to-head on Sunday. Both of them are going to be looking for a win.
Exactly, and both of them are trying to get
higher.
Yeah, take that next step to try to get closer to try to get out of relegations. So that will be extremely interesting to see how that ends up turning out. If I see correctly, Sunday only has 1 game for EU because, again, they're kind of hitting their they have more games to catch up on because only 2 teams play 2 matchups as the rest play only a single matchup each week, and they actually where NA has only 3 weeks left, EU has 4, so they do have to start making those up. And Sunday's matchup is Giants and Origin, which is going to be actually extremely interesting because if Origin ends up taking that game over Rocat and Giants ends up losing, they can be out of relegations at the moment. So that is going to be a big game. But I still think Giants is a better team, even though they only have 1 win, and I think Giants do take it 3 games.
I agree, 100%.
All right, well, was there anything else you would like to add? Or
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to this week.
It's going to be exciting. Again, we're closing in, man. 3 weeks in NA, 4 in EU. We're getting closer and closer. Playoff time. It's going to be extremely fun to watch. Again, thank you, Adam, for joining me today. As you know, Darcy couldn't, and we will definitely have to get you back on here before the split ends to do a show with all 3 of us, especially when playoff time comes. We'll have to really, get a 3-man discussion going on the playoffs because Having a third person's perspective is always nice as well, because your views are going to be different than mine, and your views, just like yours will be different than Dar's, and so on and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to that. But everybody, again, thank Adam, thank him a ton for joining me. It's nice not having to do the show exactly
Alone?
solo and alone.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Exactly.
Well,
And
Kyle, it's been a pleasure being here.
it has been. But anyways, please follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at TFL Kyledoom. That's TFLKYLEDOOM. And Adam, go ahead and toss yours out there in case people would like to follow you or ask you any questions or thoughts.
My Twitter handle is at XMovieManX.
All right, and again, thank you, Adam. And for the rest of you, please follow, like, comment on our SoundCloud. And also, again, we do have a YouTube channel. Press start. That's just like on the controller, the start button. Please follow us on YouTube if you would prefer to listen to our podcast on there. Again, it's been fun, and we're looking forward to this weekend. There's going to be a lot of decisive games as well, kind of mellow things out in the standings. And again, this is Kyle Doom Gloria. Be sure to tune back next week as we continue to bring you the news from the Rift.